expansion planning implementation when we get started on that. And I've been with City Bike for about 6 years.
I'm Corey Epstein. I'm on the communications team for Lift Bikes, and obviously City Bike is a huge focus for us. We're really happy to be here.
So we don't have a presentation per se, but we have some prepared notes, and I'll just walk through some of that right now. A lot of it is very general, and so if it's old information to some people, just please let me know to hurry up and I'll move along.
We'll take questions. We're happy to take questions, but we'll walk through first and then answer questions.
So
Yeah.
if people can't hear back there, you
Move
feel free
forward.
to move forward to the front lines so you can hear.
So City Bike is almost 6 years old now. We launched in May of 2013 with 330 stations. We now have around 750 stations and around 13,000 bikes. We have 147,000 annual members. An annual membership is $169. That works out to about $15 a month compared to an unlimited Metro card, which is $127 a month. We also have $5 a month discounted memberships for NICE residents and SNAP recipients.
To be truthful,
Yeah.
it's only 127 beginning April 21st.
Right, sorry. Okay, so to be
Time
clear, it's
out.
not 127 yet.
We're recording this. I want everyone to know that this is being recorded.
Okay, did everyone hear that in the back? This
This is being recorded.
It's a public meeting.
As we always do, it's just a live stream
But we
that,
do announce that we live stream.
So City Bike has become very popular in the spring and summer. On a typical weekday, we usually see around 70,000 rides, which is more than the number of people that cross the harbor on the Staten Island Ferry. But before I get into Upper West Side specific topics, I wanted to sort of set the stage by talking about some of the challenges that we see across the city and in other systems that we operate. When City Bike started, a lot of people thought that it would be sort of an amenity for mostly tourists, but the reality is that our most common riders are people that are residents of the city who use it for commuting Monday through Friday. So what that means is that we see our greatest demand in the morning and then also in the PM. And normal sort of commute patterns that you would see on the subways, for example. In neighborhoods across the city, we see those similar patterns. So a few of the things that are unique to bike share everywhere, I think, actually, is that more people ride downhill than uphill. More people ride when it's light out as opposed to when it's darker. More people actually ride north to south rather than south to north or any other direction.
And then east to west.
And east to west. And
So if they go north to south, but they don't come back.
yeah, that is sort of
That's what we're getting.
Yeah. They're riding bike to work, but not back home.
yeah, so that's my final point. Is that,
That might change with daylight savings.
yeah,
We're gonna get
so
there,
yeah, I'll get to that.
Okay, sorry.
So these are the challenges that we see at City Bike and in all bike share systems really we operate. To combat that, we have a few different kinds of strategies and also types of field staff that work on that. So one is rebalancing. So we have people that move bikes physically around the system using trucks, vans, and also trikes or bike trains where that's effective. We also have valets. A valet, if you don't know what that is a station that is staffed. So it effectively becomes almost unlimited in terms of capacity for bikes or docks. So when somebody docks a bike at a valet station, our valet takes the bike out of the station and stacks it to the side. So if you have a 30 dock station, you could have as many bikes as can fit around the station. So it's not limited to the number of docks. Then we also have this program which we were chatting about earlier called Bike Angels. Bike Angels is an incentive for participants to help us with redistribution by moving bikes away from stations that have too many to stations that don't have enough. So anyone who's a member can sign up to be a Bike Angel. We currently have about 30,000 Bike Angels out of, again, 147,000 annual members. Bike Angels has been a very effective program for us, and it accounts for about 25% of the bikes that get moved every day. So now onto the Upper West Side specific items. We have seen for a while that, as I said, bikes tend to leave the Upper West Side but then not come back for a lot of the reasons that I described earlier. So we specifically work every day on moving bikes from other parts of the system to the Upper West Side. This is a 24/7 effort, but a lot of those moves happen overnight in order to prepare for the demand that we see in the morning from the Upper West Side. I think we move around 200 bikes every day into the Upper West Side. Another thing that's proven very helpful is Bike Angels. We just wrapped up today a 2-week special for Bike Angels where we introduced a multiplier. We called it Operation Northern Navigators, where if someone began a trip below, I think, 34th Street and finished their trip above 59th Street, they got double the points that they would normally get for that move if they ended at a station that was one where we needed bikes to wind up at. If it was higher than 72nd Street, I think it was 4 times the points, or 86th Street maybe, and then higher than 96th Street was 8 times the points. So we saw what we think amounts to about 300 trips during that 2-week period that we would not have normally seen, at which is the equivalent of one additional box truck dropping off a load of bikes every single day. So it was definitely an effective thing, and one that we'll certainly continue to play around with going forward. Some additional things for the Upper West Side as the weather gets warmer, we will see less of reduced ridership due to cold weather, and also when it gets dark later, we'll start to see more people riding home after work because that challenge is reduced. And then also we're introducing 4,000 e-bikes into our fleet. We began doing that 2 weeks ago, and it's going to be a gradual increase in the fleet numbers. Over what time frame? I would say approximately until around the middle of May.
Can you define what an e-bike is?
Yeah, an e-bike
pedal
is,
assist.
yeah.
So they're just
when I
pedals,
say-
it's not throttle.
none of them is throttle. Yeah, they're just pedals. So to be a little more specific, what that means is that when you're riding a pedal assist e-bike and you're pedaling, there are some components in the bike that sense how hard you're working and basically help you a little bit to give you an extra boost. And then it's capped out at a certain speed, so you can't keep going.
How are you determining where they go in the neighborhood?
Where the e-bikes go?
Where the
What about my
yeah,
bus?
the e-bikes go? Upper West Side.
Are these e-bikes or assisted?
Well, they're mobile. They go wherever the people
sorry,
ride.
hang on.
Pedal assist.
So
They're legal.
I'll answer that question and then I'm going to move on and we can get back to those questions at the end. We are treating them like normal bikes. So we don't have a special rebalancing program for e-bikes right now. We just finished a pilot where we had around 400 e-bikes in the system, which began over the summer. And as we have e-bikes at scale, I think we'll start to learn things that may inform new strategies that we can come
But you
up
said
with.
4,000 on the Upper West Side.
No, sorry,
Or the
4,000 in the entire fleet.
entire fleet.
Yeah, so we can't,
And there'll be some going into the Upper West Side.
of course, yeah. I think that
There's one on the map.
one, one of the things I mentioned earlier is that we see more people riding north to south. and there's also a hill in Hill's Kitchen that is a challenge to get over in order to get to the Upper West Side. Introducing e-bikes, I think, will do a lot to overcome that, which means that you might have more e-bikes on the Upper West Side than you would in other neighborhoods. I'm really just speculating when I say that, and so we'll have to wait and see what happens. Where they go.
$2 more per ride, right?
Right now, it's $2 more per ride, right?
Until it's going to be for members waived this extra fee until April 27th, and we'll be announcing like new membership options. But right now, if you're a member, it hasn't kicked in yet. There's like a grace period basically until April 27th.
They're distinguishable by sight.
Yeah.
They're much heavier, aren't they?
They're a little bit heavier. It's most of the motor in the front wheel.
A little electric.
There's a symbol.
So that's mostly everything that I wanted to point out. But all those challenges that we see in New York City and other bike share systems that we operate will, I think, be diminished. As the weather changes, as we introduce e-bikes, and as we continue to experiment with different special programs for bike agents. So we've heard a lot of feedback from riders about lack of availability of bikes on the Upper West Side, and it's an interesting challenge. It's one we've been working on improving.
So,
oh yeah, I'm sorry. That's actually really important.
It's like the most important thing.
Yeah. We've had 19 of these valets that I mentioned during peak season. I think maybe 5 of them are around year round. This spring, we'll be reactivating the remaining valets of that group of 19, which we would normally do. But we're also adding around 21 or 22 additional valets for this peak season. So that's a huge change for us. One of those valets will be in Upper West Side, which we've never had.
Where?
Columbus and 72nd.
yeah.
So I think that's exciting.
Do you have, I'm sorry, do you have specific plans that you're aware of yet for the upcoming L train partial shutdown for excess bikes at various locations that L train riders might have used?
Yeah, we do.
Especially ones in the Upper West Side.
What the plan that we have now is modified as compared to when we thought the L train was really shut down. So we will be we'll have weekend valets, which we didn't have before, on both sides of the river, both sides of the bridge, and also both sides of where the tunnel is. Those will be all day during the weekends and go a little bit later than like a normal PM valet would go to.
Because on weekdays the plan is to reduce subway service starting at 8 p.m.
Yeah, so on weekdays we also will have some valets which stay open later than is typical.
So can we talk?
Ken has been waiting.
Cheers,
Oh, sorry, absolutely, yes.
Okay. Sorry, Ken.
Go ahead.
I've been waiting a long time to say that. Crazy with power up here. Balance. You were just talking about balancing distribution, so I wanted to follow up on that. There are many people at this table who watch forlornly their empty bike racks in front of them by 8:30. The bikes go on by 8 o'clock. The bikes go on. They're on all day. I don't know, maybe they come back at midnight or 2 in the morning. I know we're just taking pictures. 67th Street's a problem. Do you like a 311 or a telephone number to call in and say, again, it's empty, so that we can harass you until you do something about it?
Yeah. I mean, we really just have a customer service line, and we monitor our social media. So that's another good way to contact us. Even if you're not getting a response, we see all of them. So.
We can post on Instagram.
And it definitely influences, like, we were bringing the valet to the Upper West Side for like the very first time. We've never had one here. The recent multiplier we did for Bike Angels, the priority that we put up, like we heard that, and that influences us. Like we've seen stuff on Twitter, so we definitely take that to heart, and like communicate that to the operations team.
And I guess unless the other chair wants to be crazy with power.
I just had a few questions. I've noticed improvements the last few days on availability. Is that because of this triple, quadruple program?
I would say probably. Yeah.
And is that just temporary, or are you gonna?
Well,
Is that permanent?
the multiplier is temporary because it's kind of like a special thing that we turn on, and I think that we don't want to abuse that because we lose its luster. But I mean, Bike Angels is a thing that is effective all the time. It's just the multiplier that is like the additional incentive.
Well, it certainly had an effect.
And also daylight savings just ended, so more people might be riding, and it's been nice weather, so more people.
Actually, it just began.
I always mix it up. But more people might be riding back after work, so which means there's more supply.
Now, my concern about the e-bikes and the $2 surcharge is that what if my station is completely empty except it has 5 e-bikes?
Mhm.
Then I'm going to be forced to pay an extra $2.
Actually, it's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up, and the answer is no, you won't. So if you go to a station that only has e-bikes, then the fee is automatically waived.
Cool.
Like our back end will read that and knows that, so.
And you know when a bike there is not functional, like one of the bikes that
Yeah.
is
Like if it's red lit, I mean, it has to be red lit, just if you turn the seat, like we don't have a sensor on every seat, but yeah, we've pre-planned for that.
And are you planning on raising the annual fee this year?
We're collecting feedback from customers right now. We're sensitive to the $2 fee and the reaction that it's gotten. And I think that we'll probably be offering some new products and pricing structure later on in the near future.
Rich?
Yeah, so I'm an avid cyclist, also a data guy, and I have a bunch of comments. We've talked a lot about the no bikes, but it's been a real issue. And I agree with Ken, it has gotten better recently, but I'm concerned that it's only gotten better temporarily because of this special, and that goes away. It was January 18th. I was really frustrated. I think it was somewhat nicer. Wanted to go get a city bike to ride to work. And I looked, like in the entire neighborhood, there were no bikes. And I started looking, there's a website that shows just the past 24 hours for each station. And I looked for the past 24 hours, and most of the stations, at least on the upper part of our district, up above 86 to 110th Street, at no point in the past 24 hours did they have more than a quarter of the docks filled. So we're using up a lot of space for empty docks that never get filled. And it has gotten better, but I'm worried that that's just a temporary thing. And I think you have a constant data source showing what the situation is. I think we need to adjust the e-points or the Bike Angels points to make sure that if the numbers start dropping down, it just automatically kicks in with enough of an incentive to get bikes to come up. Another thought I have is I did the Bike Angel thing to get a bike from downtown to uptown. It was a cold day. I was pedaling like crazy. I'm a pretty fast cyclist. And it took me more than 45 minutes to get from downtown to uptown. So that incentive only goes so far when there's a headwind, it was freezing out. So it ended up costing me more money in the extra cost than I got in the points. So that might be something you adjust to giving people the extra time. You also might create an incentive that you give a free e-bike if you're going from downtown to uptown to rebalance, just to allow people to get bikes up here. Also concerned about, and on the point thing, I've noticed that quite often there are more points available either on the Upper East Side than the Upper West Side, or near tourist attractions. You'll have more points near the Metropolitan Museum or Museum of Natural History, but not in the neighborhoods where you have users. Also concerned about this two-tiered system of City Bike Elite, where people pay more money for fancier bikes. I'm worried that you're not going to maintain the old bikes because they're not as lucrative for you. And so there might be some, in Ken's situation, it's not completely empty of old bikes, but there's some old falling apart bikes and some brand new, more expensive bikes. And given that the system is using free street space, it just doesn't seem in the spirit of getting community boards to allocate space on the street to a private vendor and then having a two-tiered system.
I just
Great
want, I'm
feedback.
sorry,
Thank
I
you.
show you, I don't know if you can see, this is the availability as in real time, and it's all green, which means that
Someone's calling.
Yeah, but a note is the colors are very generous. So there could be 3 bikes in a station and it gets green. I don't know what the threshold is, but I'm surprised at how low the number of bikes might be and still get it green.
Right.
And the orange, which you would think means maybe 10 bikes out of 40, maybe a quarter of them, is if there's 1 bike, you get an orange.
It's so I don't know what the threshold is off the top of my head, but if you have,
Well, I can show you. There's one that's orange that's 2 out of 39.
there's 2 bikes there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so orange means it's almost out of bikes, and red means it's out of bikes, and green is everything else. And then the inverse is true if you have a bike out and you're looking
Right.
for a dock.
Okay.
I think we're both trying to ask questions.
Well, Chair
I
people.
knew it
Chair
was my
people.
fault.
I think I'm happy to have.
Okay, thanks.
Just real quick, so this has obviously not been determined yet, but congestion pricing, you think is gonna change the dynamics of our neighborhood in particular, because it looks like the border is gonna be here or near here. So I'm assuming that drivers will park and then pick up a city bike. So you may have a very large demand,
Great question.
near wherever the border is for congestion pricing, if it does happen. So I assume you guys are thinking forward on that. If not, please do.
Thank you for asking the question.
Sure, and then my just other question is on the, this may just be a suggestion. I as you can, I remember as well, and it's interesting. If I go to a docking station, I look on the app and it's clear that there's no bike there, or I physically show up, you don't know that I've tried and failed. If there's a way to update your app that can show that I tried, and now I'm going to go to my second, closest location, or third or fourth, then you'll know how many people were trying for that location, as opposed to just how many were
Great
taken
point.
Or you could wear a
Just-
button that says, I tried.
out, which I do, and hasn't worked.
That sort of goes into. So-
And that could feed into Bike Angel's points of if you have an empty station and a lot of people saying, where's the bike?
Elizabeth.
Sure. So I just, first of all, wanted to thank you. When I was chair of the board, we were rolling out City Bike for the first time, I think, Mark, was it between you and me? It was in 4 or 5 years ago. And we hosted meetings. I think the questions have gone from being, oh my God, City Bike is coming to my neighborhood, it's going to be terrible, to, oh my God, there aren't enough City Bikes. So I think that's a good, that's a good thing over the last 5 years. So I want to thank you for coming. I guess I have 2 questions. One is really a question about the data. And partly in response to your question, partly in response to yours, how are you planning to, how do you use the information you're picking up from City Bike users here in the neighborhood? Where do they go? What is it being used for? Do you sell it to other sources? How is that being used? I guess that's my first question. And then the second is, in the same way a lot of cities in the US are thinking about going, having responses to restaurants that are going, fighting against credit card only models. Is there a model for City Bike? We have several underserved neighborhoods right here on the Upper West Side that may not have credit cards. Is there any plan for, forget about the low fare options for City Bike, is there any plans to go cashless?
Yeah, I'll answer that one. You want the data?
Sure.
We are actively working on cash.
Yeah.
Actively, we have nothing to announce right now, but hopefully very soon.
Good.
On data, we don't sell our data or your data to anybody. We share with the city, and we use it to learn more about where bikes go and where they're needed primarily.
Okay.
That's basically.
So it helps you with your question, I mean, first choice, second choice of places
Right,
where
but
it
if you-
potentially could.
But you wouldn't know unless you update the software
Yeah.
to know that.
Yeah, there could be
Like for
a button.
Starbucks, for example, has monitors. They know when customers have left the store because the line was too long. They know that, they track that. So just a way to track that.
So one other thing about the data is that City Bike, since we started, has believed very strongly in open data. So we have open API. It's obviously totally anonymized, but we've sort of been at the forefront of putting all of our stuff out there. So there's tons of developers, scholars, academics, tech people who have a lot of time on their hands and want to create apps who use our data to see, trip movements. And we think that's really important because it keeps us honest. Like there's people who've created websites that have pointed out like, hey, the Upper West Side is lacking and this is a map that shows better than the City Bike map. Like we do that. Like we want people to play with our data and see what they can do to keep us honest.
And you do it through the credit card swipes, right? Through the people who
No. We do it like through, you can see
or
like,
who's picking
like
up bikes.
when you check in and check out
Okay.
bikes, not through credit cards. But yeah, we think that's really important. We've had people who've done research finding, some guy, Todd Schneider, found that 75% of all crosstown trips in Manhattan are faster on a bike than a cab. So, and like he created a map, like an interactive map. He created like an interactive map where you could like pick any spot in Manhattan and it would show you like how, if it would like how, like to what percent it would be faster like on a bike or a cab or faster on a cab on a bike. So there's lots of like cool things that people do, and that's something that frankly like not all companies in our space
Are you
do.
giving it? Are you giving that data? You're giving it to which department? in the
We
city?
basically, as we said, we share with DOT, and then on our site there's a thing that says use our data,
Okay, cool.
and it's like
So our board could go and look and see like.
yeah, and we also release monthly. The most user-friendly thing you can do is go to our website and click use our data, and then we write monthly reports to DOT that say like how many rides there were that month, customer service calls, right? Like what else do we do?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
But
amazing.
like it's
Yeah.
everything is out there.
They also have someone on staff who's a real leader in the data community, guy Frank Everett, who's awesome. He's just really smart and really gets it with data.
So how many accidents are there on city bikes? Or collisions? I apologize.
Yeah, I can't speak off the top of my head. Like I don't have that in front of me, but we think it's a very safe system. We've had over I think it's like 74 million rides in 5 years, and tragically there's been one fatality due to traffic violence in Chelsea. But it is something that is a really safe system, and we're really proud of that. And we have like through DOT, we have really strong maintenance protocol, repair shops that are like keeping track of the maintenance on our bikes. But something I have in front of me, but it's not. If it was a epidemic or something, you'd hear about it.
On your mapping, what would be really helpful to chickens like me would be to show which are protected bike lanes.
Yeah.
When you map, you just map the shortest distance, and I only do park and do bike lanes as much as, sometimes the last 2 blocks I have to be on the road, but
It should be in the app. It's in the app. We did change
if
the.
you updated that since last fall, I haven't been since last fall because I'm also a warm weather
Since fall
rider.
20. Yeah, so basically in our app now, if you look at the map, you will see different shadings of the streets, and the darker the shading shows you like super dark shading is protected bike lane, and then dotted line means like a shower or something. So we do show that in the app, which I think is a great. I mean, frankly, I ride all the time and I use that.
But
Hopefully there'll be more of those dark lanes coming up.
but it's like Columbus. Okay, then that's that. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Let's
Yeah.
take a couple from the community.
Yeah.
You're on.
Talk about it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. He's
In
he's
the
boss right
purple
now.
sweater.
Okay, hi. I had a question. I know in August you all launched like the dockless idea. Is there a plan to expand that? And if so, what would be the rollout? I'd imagine there'd be some controversy around that, especially around here.
There aren't any plans right now to expand, but it's a pilot program and it's just renewed for 3 more months. So it'll be there at least until the end of May.
Are you gonna be expanding the dock system?
Yes, we are going to be expanding the dock system. We're still working out exactly where we'll go and what the phasing will be. So I don't have an update on that.
Any pivot plans for the Upper West Side?
For the Upper West Side. Well, I mean, we will likely expand further north in Manhattan, but that's all that we really know right now.
Because there was one criticism we've had, and that is sometimes stations move, close, whatever, and we're not given advance warning on that.
So, I mean, I can add to that.
Oh.
I mean, if there are any plans to install any new stations, we will definitely come before the
Great.
community board for input on that. We have a new policy now with stations that are temporarily relocated, for utility work or whatever reason it might be. We will notify the community board within
Great.
48 hours and let you all know of that.
Fantastic.
Okay?
If you also, like, if your local station.
I know, they have
you
that,
should get to know.
right.
Yeah.
They have a method whereby if you frequently use a station, I gather,
Yeah.
you get told that. I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
They don't tell us why.
Some, I mean,
Sometimes they don't know.
Yeah, sometimes we really don't
Thank
know.
you,
Oftentimes the reason for the removal is because Con Ed is doing some work that they say will last a month, but it lasts 6 months. And so, we have no control over it.
And in moving forward, we'll have the timeline. We'll share that with the community board, whether it's 6 months or a year.
Yes.
Yeah, I just have a question on the issue of protected bike lane because there's sometimes concern about discrepancies between what the city calls a protected bike lane and what users call a protected bike lane. And do you independently verify that separately from the city's determination, or do you use the city's determination to just in terms of differentiating?
Oh, we don't independently verify that. And
Okay.
the layers that are on our map in the app are not modified by us. I think they're a pre-existing layer that comes from the service that we use, which is which provides that platform.
Okay. So, good to know.
Couple of questions. So the one you said at the very beginning that there are certain times when bikes are used more heavily than other times. So do you do sort of like a congestion pricing kind of a thing where when the hours are slower, prices are different or lower?
No. We don't.
Okay. Second question is on the when you have the service, whatever the storage of the bicycles you're talking about,
The valet.
the valet. The one on Columbus, is that going to take up additional parking spaces?
No, it won't.
It won't.
No.
And then last question is, based on the fact that you use city streets, is there an estimate of the lost revenue the city has because of these stations?
Well, we're responsible for that revenue, so we actually pay the city for the revenue that they would receive when a city bike station occupies meter parking.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Yep.
So I just wanted to, if I hear you correctly, and I'm very happy to hear this, you're saying in 74 million rides, you've had one fatality in the history of city bike in New York City. That's incredible.
So have there been others not?
Yeah, there were two. I think it was two when there was a terrorist attack on the West Side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess just to follow up is that, we have somebody could be using City Bike. There are people that are coming in from out of the country and other parts of the country and out of the country. How is it that those people become familiar with, the rules of the road? And one other follow-up is that I understand even earlier in the conversation that the helmet is not required by law. Have you considered any partnerships with City Bike members to have a discount or helmet, or even a vending machine or a collapsible helmet or something to encourage the use of helmets? Just not saying required by law, but to.
We actually.
Yeah, they have them. They have collapsible helmets. They're amazing.
Are they just as protective?
They're really
They're
good.
not bad.
You guys sell them?
We sell.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
they're just-
Then I need to
But
look on your
not-
website.
But not like at a station. I think what you're saying is like, could there be somewhere where you could get to a station?
Yeah,
There'd be like a
it's-
little vending machine.
It would be a wonderful thing if the person wanted to have it. I take mine, right, that's what I do, and I have a carabiner and I put it on, but, it's just for people
It's
that
not collapsible.
who haven't purchased their helmet, they're staying in a hotel and they want to enjoy City Bike.
Yeah.
How do they get it?
So you can start on our website, like you said, at a discounted rate. I think. We also partner with local bike shops, so you can go to a bike shop. I think you can go to a local bike shop and use a promo code from our website if you have like a pass, like a day pass or an annual membership or whatever, and buy the discounted helmet. We don't have anything like you described where there would be a vending machine, for example, adjacent to a station.
You can take it and return it. Given.
Kiosks at hotels. Suggestion.
We also have, like DOT does a lot of great bike helmet giveaways, which we always love to
Helmets.
support.
Yeah.
And we also, if you're, I mean, all of you who are City Bike members here are probably experts, but if you were to say come from out of town and open up the app for the very first time, like only for first time users, we have like a walkthrough screen that's sort of like you have to swipe through and see like, you know, be aware, like wear a helmet. Like we just, there is a walkthrough that you have to go through the app when you first.
And there's also decals on the bike itself that call out some important rules like yield to pedestrians and traffic.
Thank you.
Yeah, Andy Rosenthal, I've been a City Bike member for years. I got up early enough to get one. Now that I'm retired, the Upper West Side is generous, especially in the 2 days when everybody does commute to work. It's a desert. I mean, from 59th Street to 110th, zero, or virtually zero bikes on the entire thing. So your rebalancing effort, I know you tried, is not working to a sufficient degree. It just isn't, and I have called, and you do have nice people that pick up and log it in. Thank you very much. It's not sufficient. So I had an idea, and you guys are scientists, so I think we need to try experiments to see if we can improve this. The Angels is great, and I'm an angel, so I do some of these crazy trips. But how about locking up X% of the bikes, a small number, 10, 25% of them, till 10 o'clock in the morning when the commuters, hopefully, are gone, and we can have some circulate within the system up here. That's something you guys can control from base, I presume, and experiment. Let's see if those bikes, the average city bike, my understanding is gets 5 rides a day or something like that. I'm sure these ones that commute end up with like 2.1 rides a day, right? Because in the morning they get picked up, they go down to your Midtown valet, and then they sit till the person, if they even bring it home, brings it home. So I don't know how you get 5 a day, because it seems like a lot of the population up here would get 1 to 2 a day.
That's an interesting experiment.
I'll add.
I've emailed you.
It's a good idea. It's a good idea. Like I'm gonna take it back to people. But the fact is, we're gonna have the valet on the Upper West Side for the very first time. It's actually at our valets that we do some overnight locking of bikes, because we configure those slightly differently to allow us to lock bikes. We do it, I think, at Grand Central or Port Authority. And once you have a valet, you can do that overnight. So I don't know exactly like what time we release the bikes, but the fact that we're going to have a valet on the Upper West Side will enable us for the first time to experiment with locking.
I mean, I stood at 72nd in Columbus last year. It emptied out before 8 o'clock. You guys actually brought a truckload that morning, like at 8 o'clock. So it was refilled and emptied out a second time before 8:30. I mean, it was, and the rest of the day presumably had again 0. So it was somewhat useful for commuters. I'm sure there were commuters that would have taken it. But bike share to me is not really necessarily intended for a one-way commute. It's intended to circulate the system, and we're not getting that circulation on the airport side.
And just to, Brian from the beginning, I think did a great job of like laying out like things that we face in New York, but not just New York, whether it's Paris, Montreal, like bike share across the world is like more people riding in the morning, like more people riding downhill, more people riding to the central business district. This has been like a great meeting you've had like really, really good ideas. We could have the exact same meeting in the East Village on the Upper East Side. So we hear a lot of competition for bikes and attention, and people say the East Village is empty after this point. The Upper East Side is empty after this point, and we try to help like the most number of people as possible. So we bring those bikes, like they take them really quick. We have trucks that are going all over the place. You know, we try experiments. This is a great idea that you have. I'm going to make sure people hear about, but like bike share also means like sharing across the whole system. So we can't, you know, we've been prioritizing the Upper West Side, but we need to like make sure it works for as many people as possible. And that's what we're really trying to do.
At the same time, the Upper West Side probably had 0 today. It looks green now. I rarely see it looking as green as it is today. But anyway, it looks very green right now. I was down in the West Village today and I could not park a bike. You know, so obviously you got, you know, and I understand it's not your fault. There's huge imbalances in the flows of these things, which are really tough to manage. Rich?
3 quick things. One is worst possible day to mention this, but I understand you're responsible for clearing snow, and it's not going to be a factor hopefully until next year, but you did a really bad job. There were a lot of stations that were just covered with snow and ice for a long time, and was only cleared because it warmed up.
Specific one.
It would just be anecdotal. I don't know that
because I
it's
can take it
helpful.
back to our team.
Yeah, I saw 104th in Columbus, or 104th in Amsterdam, 104th in Riverside, in front of the of Mount Sinai on the east side, which is in our turf, of course. Yeah, it was pretty extensive throughout the Upper West Side. Second is, it sounds like you just need far more trucks taking a lot of bikes up to the Upper West Side every night. And you know, the Bike Angels was really helpful, but unless you're going to do a real significant program on a constant basis, and even if you do, we just need trucks bringing the bikes up. And third is, Andy has a really interesting idea, but I also think there's a counter of that I'd be kind of pissed off if I showed up at
My wife feels that way too.
a station.
That's why I said it's an experiment. You gotta
Yeah.
try new things.
If I get to a station and there are 10
5
bikes
bikes.
sitting there and I'm told, no, you have to wait until 10 o'clock to get it, and I'm late for work, it's a weird message.
Okay, it's
Maybe it's
3 minutes and 8.
One more.
Just wanted, I think there's one more too, so let's,
Oh, yeah.
okay, let's keep it brief because I have something else to
Just
do.
something occurred to me, have you thought about bike devil? Where if you don't do a round trip, you get penalized.
So sometime within the next 12 hours, you've got to ride it the other way.
Ken, did you just say bike devil?
Yeah, I like it. I like the idea.
I never thought I'd hear that come out of Ken's mouth.
I have 3 quick little things. As you design bikes and they get better and better, the basket on the bikes are really very bad.
Are you talking about the plastic basket or the older basket?
No, the older basket, the one that has a stretchy,
There's
Green-
multiple
green
versions
component.
that are
We even
switched.
do,
Yeah.
yeah, we can do
It's
basket.
like a pen.
It's more like, yeah.
I think the new ones are
My
far
sort of
superior.
person
You're
is
improving.
Design it for my first.
So the
Yeah.
new
Because
basket
50% of the riders have firsts.
yeah, so the new basket should be appropriate for that.
Good, then have you already put in something that will hold my telephone, so I've got my GPS in front of me, so I can see where I'm going?
No.
Heads up.
What
Heads
Yeah,
up.
that's not our thing.
Okay, and third thing, this is an impossibility, and I'll address it to Andrew. Andrew, this is really a last mile to get to work thing. Can the MTA allow them, can you use your MTA card on city bikes?
To what city?
Metro
bike?
card.
I mentioned
Not the Metro card. You knew last month when I mentioned that. Gotta learn the name of this. Every month from your
Transit check?
work, a transit check.
But you can do that. I mean,
Oh.
Can you do transit check?
you can't do it for multimodal though. You can do it for train, but you can't do it for.
You can do it for 2 buses.
Yeah, yeah.
I do it
Yeah.
for 2 buses all the time.
Legislation.
But that's the
involved.
Yeah,
MTA.
yeah, that's, yeah.
It's all through the MTA. You can't
I
transfer from.
said it's an impossibility. I understand that, but this is a one city.
I think
one
Sherry
business
Nadler
gets
has
work.
other things on his mind right
There's a
now,
bill in Congress.
and as well it should be.
I just have a quick, super quick. Are you planning to move beyond bikes? So will there be a scooter version of City Bike or Lyft coming to our neighborhood anytime soon?
I mean, they're not legal. There needs to be a state law, as far as I
Right,
understand,
right.
state law change.
Just wanted to see if anything on the business side you guys were cooking.
If it's not legal, we don't.
Okay.
have it.
I promise to be out here by 8.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for coming, we really appreciate it.
Thank
And they
you.
left,
Oh, yeah.
those who
Oh, that's nice.
free day passes for City Bike, so if you don't have, if you're not an annual member.
Or bring it for a friend, if you
Yeah.
are a member, so pass them around.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
So you can use it to extend your membership. You can also earn,
Okay, so I call up. Okay, next person.
there's a leaderboard too.
Okay, next on the agenda, we want to do the newsstand. Is the person with the newsstand here? Thank you for coming. Sorry you had to wait. Come on up to the table.
I'm assuming you're probably out.
Okay, so your name is,
Skip item 2.
Yeah, I think we're just putting it here.
everyone who's talking.
Can we-
about
we're starting our business meeting.
Thanks.
My name is Sean.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there it is. Great. So can you describe to us where the newsstand is? Go ahead.
It's on the southeast
That's right, good.
And
Right.
you,
Where the new development's coming.
Yeah,
It's
it's
good.
there's gonna be a new construction there, right?
Mhm. It is.
Is that gonna be?
Heinz building.
Can we
When will it start? I think the demolition is starting.
Yeah.
do you know
Because
this?
there's gonna be no retail on that bottom floor.
I know there's a building kind of big.
Gonna be
Yeah, it's been vacant for a long time.
It's, the Heinz developer bought it, it's gonna be an adult, supportive housing, I mean adult assisted living. I understand there's no retail on the front of it at all.
I'm more concerned about during construction,
Oh.
if there's like a bit, you know, if then the sidewalk becomes really narrow.
I think as long as the sidewalk is functional.
Yeah.
Do you know when construction is gonna commence?
I don't. I
Right.
see that there's
Because it could be
notifications,
a bad
they're,
location for business during.
Right.
they're
during
doing
that.
abatement right now, there's signs in the
Construction period.
window. For asbestos.
I mean, I'm just thinking about the construction by, you know, with Baybar, where it's like out, like the whole sidewalk. So sometimes that happens,
Maybe call
you know?
windows.
So, I mean, we do have newsstands where there are active construction sites and we work around that. I mean, here's a site that we don't know when that construction is gonna begin, and I would hate the fact that we hold up this application for that. But we work with the contractor to make sure that it's safe and that there's clearance, clearance. Passage.
Is there any other reason why this wouldn't be an appropriate place for this?
I just have a question, isn't there another one on 86th and on the same side of the street, one block north?
There is.
There is.
That's a block away.
Just after the theater.
No, I'm talking north.
No, north.
Yeah, there's one to the south as well.
So,
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, so there'd be one on every corner.
yeah, is it owned by do you own the other
No.
ones?
Have you looked at any other potential locations besides this one?
Yeah, but I don't
Even
have
that
any.
much.
I just note that there are also, on the west side of Broadway, there's a stand at 83rd and a stand at 82nd. It's both coexisted.
As long as you know
no
that you
retail.
have competition north, south, east, west.
And construction
Just-
coming.
What happens, just because I don't know this, what happens if like he goes out of business?
I don't actually know. I would imagine there's less road to protect it, so they can take down the stand.
It would move it, yeah. It would eventually move the newsstand to be able to.
So call the
That won't
question.
happen to you. We wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other objections? Anybody
So
from
there are
the?
no obstructions?
I have a question for your stand. Do you have illuminated signs on the stand?
Any signs on the stand would be by the firm that is out there for every stand.
But you know,
Everything that you would
do
see
you
there.
know if the illuminated station would be facing any residential units or not? Like would be facing the street or be
Will be
facing?
facing construction.
It's construction, okay.
Well,
That's the only-
but at some point, it'll
Well,
be the adult,
we
the adult
generally
center, but
get
it's on the
calls
ground
about
floor.
Those being too bright, but it's face construction, but not toward years, so.
No, you're right. The modern version of that is like two sizes of them, but they're kind of, that's it, right? They do include backlit illuminated signs, and some of them have that LED, is it, or LCD
Yeah.
screens where the ad changes.
Do you know if you have that LCD advertising on the side?
That's the firm, I think, that works with DOT.
Yeah, I think, you know what, some of them do, but it depends on the location, kind of like the bus shelters, they have them. But I doubt, it's unlikely that yours might have that, you know.
It's
You
just
know
gonna be a
how it's
standard.
determined, or who determines that?
I think it's like, you know, areas where it's kind of like vendors, certain vendors are prohibited in certain areas. I think they look at the general land use of the area.
Is that up to the vendor, or is it up to DOT or DCA, or who?
I want to say it probably is a joint decision made by DCA and DOT.
And what are your proposed hours for the newsstand in operation?
I thought about it, I think we wanna wait until we get through all the process, but it's gonna be regular hours, just like any other.
And you'll be selling Sunday newspapers. Yeah. All of which will be stored inside the premises. correct?
Yeah, not to bother anyone.
And how large? 8 feet, 10 feet?
There's two sizes.
Yeah, I think it's a smaller, I forgot the measurement.
Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I think that's everyone. We can, opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay, one abstention. Non-committee members? All those in favor? One in favor, one abstain. Okay,
So 7,
Congratulations.
0, 0,
Thank you very much.
7,
This
0,
will go to the
7,
full
1,
board
0, 1, 0, 1.
first Tuesday in April.
We should do the 410.
Thanks a lot.
yes, who's here from 410 Central Park West? No one.
No one.
Well,
Huh. They have a petition, 500 people signed it for
And no
no
one showed up?
standing. Right.
What is it?
There's a request to put a no standing sign in front of 410 Central Park West, which is at 101st Street.
We've gotten many of those types of requests.
Right, it's unlikely we'd approve it. Once we have approved it, it's my history.
so why is it unlikely?
Yeah,
Why is-
Yeah,
Because if we approve it for one building, everybody's going to ask for it, and there's no reason to deny it.
right.
We can have that conversation when they show up.
Wait, I'm not sure we should deny just because we have a petition. We
Is
shouldn't
there a
dismiss
reason
it
that
out of
We
they're-
hand.
have nobody to present it, nobody requesting it here. Don't they have to physically show up?
No. Yeah.
I don't, that's what Penny told me, I don't see it.
We
I don't
pass
have-
all sorts of things
We
for
have,
people.
we have lots of questions that should be answered by somebody from this group, and they're not
So
here.
why don't we ask
Why don't we
Penny
just do it next month?
to ask them
I
to
would
come
just-
next month?
Remember that next month.
Yeah.
These first 30
Well, then they
minutes.
can come in May. They can come in May.
Or we have that, wait, we have that half hour.
Yeah, we have a half hour, if we can get, depending on
We
what
can do
else
the
is
half
on
There
there.
are 500,
Right, there's gonna be a discussion, I can already see there's gonna be
it
a
will
lengthy
test you guys
discussion on
as
this.
chairs. to be able
There's
to
a
run
block
an efficient
association,
meeting.
a multi-block association right up that area. It might be smart to reach out to her that's the.
I'm just surprised I didn't show up.
Yeah.
You have 500, that one person
That
shows.
sounds a lot.
Meeting I never attended, and there was no address on West 87, and I went into the building, and the fellow at the desk told me, I don't know, and I went back out on the road, and finally the doorman brought me here, but if they were unfamiliar with the location.
No, it's on our website. It says 250 West 87th Street.
Exactly, did you look for that? I mean,
If the number is outside, it says Community Board 7. There's a glass door. It's very easy to find.
Well,
We never
use
had anyone
open,
not
I actually
find.
don't see the.
I didn't actually have that experience, but.
Are you here for this item, for the
No,
410?
no, I'm here in general, I kind of want to.
Sure.
Thank you for finding us.
Just a point of information, do you know that there was a law passed by the city council about a year and a half ago that required all buildings to post the address? But according to what I heard from Helen's office, is that they haven't, in a year, they haven't been able to decide what the penalty would be if they don't.
We have our address on our door.
Penalty
It
issue.
says 250
Right.
on our door.
But
Okay.
People, it says 250 on our door.
Again,
But
I'm
I
just talking
think
about
when
in
yours
general.
propped open, it's way not that easy to see, as you think it is, because you see it when you.
So
use
maybe
it.
we can put it somewhere else in
It'd
it.
be great to put on
Yeah.
the extra non-movable panel.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anybody here for any reason other than the last two things on the agenda, numbers 2 and 3? No other questions? This gentleman.
I'm here about the exit ramp, but it's not on your agenda.
Can we discuss, listen to what he's bringing up? Hi. Why don't you go ahead and tell us?
Sure. 1 minute. My name is
Take
Tom
two.
Caffrey. I'm with the Committee for an Environmentally Sound Development. You may know Olive Freud. She's the head of that committee. We're concerned about the exit ramp that doesn't seem to be emerging from the west side of the highway at about 59th Street. So that people going north on the west side highway can get onto Riverside Boulevard. Maybe you've been speaking about that, but we haven't heard anything about it. We don't see it on the agenda.
He's right.
It doesn't
Is there-
exist. It doesn't exist, and right now, Riverside Boulevard is still owned by the developer. It has not been, those streets have not been mapped. And I understand that they're coming back to us at some point. to discuss.
Did they reach out to the community board? Because, I mean,
Yeah, that's what I understand.
Does that mean the police can't get tickets on
That
that?
they will be coming back. They're coming to parks, but it's usually joint with transportation, and it will be very important for transportation committee to make sure that we're there at that age.
You know,
Does that eventually get?
That's a parks.
It's going to get mapped, so what, right now, the developers, until the developers have finished working on the site, that whole area, Riverside Boulevard South, Freedom Place, the little side streets, they're not mapped. DOT has no control over the moment.
So you can't get a ticket there? No, I'm serious. You can't get a ticket if it's not a city street.
I don't know, I mean, do you wanna try it?
Yeah, I can try it, because I'm a minister, so I have a plaque
Exactly,
on my.
yeah, you could probably get away with it, but I mean.
All right, let's
That's-
stay with the subject. So
It's gonna
at
get
some
mapped.
future
That's
point,
built.
it's going
will
to
get
be
mapped
discussed.
eventually.
It will be discussed eventually.
It's gotta be mapped by DOT before.
It will be mapped by DOT before it becomes a map. DOT will, at some point, the developer and DOT will come before the community board and discuss the mapping of these streets.
Great.
Okay.
Because there's a building that almost abuts the highway
Well,
at 59th
there's
Street.
nothing we can do right now.
But just so they don't keep building further forward, because then they'll say, oh, we can't put the exit. We don't.
Is
they
it
don't
south of
control
our
it.
district?
But they have,
All right,
it's in the plan. It's in the plan that they have to put in an exit. The original plan of 15 years ago.
Actually, it's more than 15 years. It's
Yeah.
about 28 years, but let's move on.
Okay, any other new business?
Thank
Oh,
you.
we have 2 and 3. Thank you.
Okay.
Let me just give you a really quickie,
Yeah.
which is that we've had a lot of talk about congestion pricing at MTA and at various committees, and most folks don't believe that people are going to drive into extremely congested areas like the Upper East and Upper West Side, look for a parking space, and then use mass transit or city bike even. We think that they're going to go to the farther reaches and maybe get on a train there to avoid, so like Jamaica Estates is probably a prime place for residential parking permits because everyone's driving to that end of the line subway and getting
Or
on.
express train stops.
Yes, something like that, North Bronx even, but not likely that they're gonna do that. That's the prevailing, maybe this is your.
But what's the problem with having, I mean, but why not just get residential parking permits anyway? Literally,
No,
like
DOT doesn't
every
really
other
want it.
major city in
I
the
agree.
country uses them.
It also needs state approval.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Okay,
So-
Rich is his hand up.
Just on that point, I actually would love for us to have a resolution right now supporting Mark Levine's call for residential parking.
Okay,
I think that there's a good chance that the MTA's assessment that Andrew just mentioned won't be correct, and that a lot of people will come to our neighborhoods. I think,
Drive around endlessly looking for a
I mean,
space.
but even if that's not the case.
or
like,
wait
we
until
can't
11
have a
o'clock when the
lack of-
spot's open. And we're already, we have so many people just driving around in circles looking for spots. It's just horrible environmental policy. I'm talking.
I think if you're gonna do that,
Give away something for
That's
free,
why we
it's gonna be
guys-
overutilized.
Guys, I think if you're
Period.
gonna do that, you can't do it.
I think I had the floor.
You're right, what you were about to say.
You did, but
Wait,
actually
Roberta,
she has
can
a
you just
point of
finish?
order.
It is a point
You
of
can't
order.
do this, but.
I think that we have to have, if we're going to discuss it and vote on it, it has to be announced. We obviously can't do it in April because we have other
It
things.
would help if we were a little informed.
But
Yes.
in May, I think we need more information. I think we need to let the public know that we're discussing it and whoever the elected officials are that are supporting it.
Rich,
I'm
because
done.
we can't have
Yeah.
discussion next month, we can't do it next month, we can put on the agenda for May.
Right.
Will it be too late at that point?
No.
Yeah,
No.
well, probably.
No,
Pass
it's
the
not too
budget
late.
by May.
The congestion pricing,
Doesn't require budget.
I mean, I think that what they're trying to do is put it.
Yeah, it's not likely to make the first round.
It's not gonna make the first round. I think regardless, you're stuck until May.
Okay, we'll put on the agenda for May, if it's moot, then it's moot.
Yeah, you had a very good point about congestion pricing and that the details are yet to be determined. And as they always say, the devil's in the details.
Right.
And so.
We don't know the exact time of
Just
day,
so
we
you
don't know the fee, we don't know
Right.
Manhattan
Yeah, but it would be
residents.
nice, but if we had a resolution, we could
opinion
say
on it.
what our opinion was on
Yeah,
that
just-
before they start making decisions.
So today, the the budget, the legislature version of the budget was released, and